Emang kalau aku udah nyebutin judul definition of itu, boleh turunin ke bawah ya. Ah, udah deh, serah deh. Udah. Ya, mulai ya, mulai serius, nggak sumpah serius, mulai. Uh,
Bener gak mulainya? Oke, ya.
benar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So we are from group 7 and we will explain about definition of animal pairs and distinctive features. And let me introduce my group first. First, there is Kibra Abdulhalik, and then Hikmah Shahab, then Hikmatin Sima, and Gading Regina. So first material will explain by Gading Regina. I will give time for her.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will explain about definition of minimal pairs. Minimal pairs are two words. They are that are pronounced almost in the same way, but they have one sound that makes them different. The sound can be vowel or consonant. These pairs have nothing to do with spelling or meaning. That means, for example, two words have similar pronouns, but they there is a different way, different things. It's make differ for pronouns, and we must spell it by correct pronouns because it has different meanings. Okay, next slide. And there are two parts of minimal pairs. First is consonant pairs, and second is vowel pairs. For example, minimal pairs, they are E and E. For example, beach. If beach means pantai, that E, what, it's long. And if beach, what do you say? It's warning words. Yes, it has small. What do you say? Pendek. Small.
Short.
Short E. Short I. For example, beach and beach. Yes. And next is vowel pairs. For example, R and L. It has similar pronouns. For example, grammar and glamour. Grammar and glamour. And the other example is fan and fan. Yes, fast and fast. Fast and fast. Okay. I think that's for me. Back to moderator.
Okay, thank you. Pairs. So next, now we'll explain about this.
Oke, sorry, nih, pendengaran suaranya.
Dengeran.
Okay. Distinctive feature. Wait. Okay. Distinctive feature is a quality of characteristic that makes something different and easily noticed. The phenomenon of a speech sound can be described by the total elements feature that make it a district of different distinctive from the others phenomena manner of production, place of production, and the origin of production. They can be coronary, high, low, rectitude, or back, anterior, posterior, deep or flat, sonorant, pecolic, and obstruent. Uh, Roman Jacobson proposed that there uh, is one universal set of distinctive features for all language, which define classes of sound relevant to phonology. Point one, all contract must be stated in the term of this feature. Point two, all restriction on this distribution must be stated in the term of this feature. Okay. Uh, Next, theory of distinctive feature. Um, a theory of distinctive feature is expected to fulfill the following requirement in the words of Giesenhoven and Jacob. The should be capable of categorizing cultural segment classes. They should be capable of describing all segmental contract in world language. They should be definable in phonetic terms. The last requirement is needed to make the theory verifiable and falsifiable if the features are not phonetically defined, but defined in others ways such as abstractly or symbolically. There is a possibility of verifying whether unpredictable from the theory actually occurred as in restoration, especially as the binary feature from the symmetric field of color. Right, guys. Um, Namely, red and blue for four places for sound, plus red for the sound, B, D, G, oi, I, R, oi, I, mean red for the sound, B, T, K plus blue for the sound, F, S, X, H, and mean blue for B, D, P, T, A. Suppose also that these are not defined phonetically, but defined abbreviatively. There is not way which to explain. Okay. Mm, and B, following point need to be taken into account regarding the distinctive feature. Wait, oh, no. Distinctive feature have binary values in terms of plus and minus. EH plus means consonantal sound. We are estimated to have the plus or the mean value of a feature that's between the voiceless possibles P and B. B is plus voice and V is mean voice. The value should not be interpreted to mean the absence of the features. Point two, some features are assumed to be single value, mean valued, also called unary or univalent or private. For example, labial sound and assumed to have the feature labial. Sounds that are not labial, e.a. dental or velar, are not specified as being non-labial. The feature labial is assumed to be absent in them. The implication is that there is no natural class of sound. Next point, a feature that is distinctive in one language might be non-distinctive in another language. For example, pulse means spirit glottis. Characterizing aspiration is distinctive in Hindi, as Hindi has a contrast between aspirate and unispirate sound. E point Z, K, time, and Kyle, skin, but is not distinctive in English as the aspirate consonant. Do not contrast with the aspirate counterparts. Okay. Uh, Next, feature specification of major classes of sound. Feature a consonant, sound, chill, and nasal. Uh, Obstruct itu konsonannya plus, sound is mean, shall mean, nasal plus, and nasal plus plus mean plus, liquids plus mean, leaders mean plus mean, and vowels mean plus plus and means. Okay, thank you. Back to moderator.
Okay, thank you for the descriptive pictures. Now it's my turn. Pictures. The major class features of syllabic, consonantal, and non-defined five major sound classes of vowels, nasals and liquids, non-syllabic nasals and liquids, obstruents and glades or semifinals. Definition of the major class features are as follows. Not instead of the feature. Some phonologists use the feature with opposite characterization of the features. Thus, a nasal is sounds which are proximate to sound in the production of which there is no audible fiction. I will explain about features. First, there is consonantal and consonantal. Consonantal sounds have a narrowed constriction in the oral either total occlusion or narrowing suffixation to create affricatives. Affricatives, nasals and liquids are consonant. Vowels and semivowels are means consonant. Sound produced with an obstruction in the oral cavity which it partially needs to result in at least audible fiction in the air passed out of the oral cavity. Next, there is syllabic non-syllabic. Syllabic characterizes the that a segment plays in the structure of a syllable. A equal syllabic sound serves a nucleus or peak of a syllable. A mid-syllabic sounds does not always are plus syllabic, whereas most but not all consonants are wing-syllabic. Some consonant, the liquid and nasals, can serve as syllable nuclei in words like battle and button. Next, there's sonoran and sonoran. This feature refers to the resonant quality of most sounds produced with a relatively open vocal tract. Vowels, nasal, liquids, and semivowels are plus sonorant. The obstruent are mean sonorant. And last, there is voice. Sounds produced with vocal chords in vibration. Three major class features can be used in a clade tree to define the major sound classes as follows. Note that each branch of the tree is associated with one of the three features and that the left and right direction at each branch are labeled with the place and minus feature values. Okay, next there is manner of articulation features. Sounds which are those which are produced without a central blockade in the vocal tract. For example, fricatives have a central constrictions, but there is no complete blockage of the air in producing sounds. Plus, continuant sounds are the fricatives, and means continuant sounds are plosives and affricates. Not laterals behave ambiguously with regard to the feature. Additional classes of sounds are determined by features having generally to do with manner of articulation. The following features fall into this group. First, there is nasal or non-nasal. Nasal sounds are produced with an open pharynx so that air can escape through the nose. Non-nasal sounds are produced with a closed pharynx so that air pushed out from the lungs can escape only through the mouth. The only nasal consonant in English are nasal sound produced with lowered phlegm and resulting airflow through nasal cavity. And there is continuant and continuant. For continuant sounds, the primary constriction in the vocal tract does not completely block the flow of air, but for non-continuous or stops the flow or of air is completely blocked for some period of time. Stop and fricates are the non-continuous sounds. Continuous sounds produced with free air flow in the oral cavity. There is instantaneous release, delayed release. An instantaneous or abrupt release of the primary closure in the vocal tract. Little or no turbulence is generated as the constriction widens, but with a delayed release, significant turbulence is generated upon release, causing an acoustic similarity the fricative produced at the same point. Delay release distinguishes fricates from other non-continuant sounds. Fricates, as is well known, are characterized by a delayed release of its top closure phase. Next, okay, I'm sorry, something bad about happened. So I will continue my turn. So next there is strident and non-strident. Strident sounds are produced with a greater intensity of noise than non-stridents. The noise intensity is determined by characteristic of the constriction, including roughness of the articulatory surface, rate of airflow over it, an angle of incidence between the articulatory surface. The strident sounds are there. Okay. Strident sounds produced with an airstream release, resulting in a hissing noise. The last, there is lateral and non-lateral. This feature is restricted to coronal consonantal sounds. Lateral sounds are produced by lowering the midsection of the tongue at both sides or at only one side, so that air flows around the midline closure. Non-lateral sounds do not have such a side passage. The only lateral in English is lateral sounds characterized by raising the tongue to create an obstruction in the front of the oral cavity, accompanied by release of air through either or both the side of the tongue. Okay. Next, there is, I'm sorry, an empty cell means that the feature is either not relevant to the sound's classification or is redundant with other features for that sound. For example, the features low, high, and back are unspecified for the tongue position varies with context. The feature strident is unspecified for M sound because nasals cannot be strident. Okay. Next, there is laryngeal features. Uh, Sounds which are plus voice are those which are produced with vibration of the vocal folds, vowels, and all the consonants that are on the right hand side of a slot in the IPA chart are voice plus spread glottis. Sounds which are plus spread glottis are those that are produced with a wider opening of the glottis than causing the escape of extra puff of air as well as glottal friction as pirate stopped are plus spread glottis. Not it is one of the features that we have ambiguously in different languages as fricatives or as approximants. Besides, sometimes voiceless consonants are also found to be produced with a spread glottis. There's like constrict glottis. Sounds which are plus constrict glottis are those which are produced with the vocal folds held tightly together. One, uh, sorry. One example of feature geometry in which phonetic features are arranged in a hierarchy. The root subdivides into laryngeal and supralaryngeal levels, each of which is associated with additional features at lower levels. Features geometry, unlike linear system, readily allows some features to be subsumed under others. They are not independent. Okay, that's from me. Next, Sid Martin Sima will explain about place of application features and other. So I will give time for.
Okay, thank you, Gibran, for the time. Now I will explain the subpoint from what had explained by Gibran. I will continue. The subpoint for the first is the place of articulation feature. Among the place features, there are features that relate to the four major areas in the vocal tract where sound are produced. There are labial, coronal, dorsal, and radical. Dealing with the lips, the front of the tongue, the mid body or the dorsum of the tongue and dirt of the tongue. And I will explain one by one. For the first one is labial. Labial divide to bilabial and labiodental. So the next one, coronal. Coronal divide into dental, alveolar, post-alveolar, prepalatal, and palanatal. Palatal. For the third, dorsal. Dorsal divide to velar and uvular consonant, and vowels in general. And the last one, radical. It's divided to epiglottal and pharyngeal. And as explained above, consonants that are produced with the articulators relating to the place are assumed to either have the feature or not have them. Thus, a coronal consonant is not mean labial or negative labial. And each of the major place features more specific binary place features. And there are binary place features that specifically characterize the specific place for the sounds. There are labial. For labial, here there is a plus round or a positive round. Labial sounds are produced with the lips rounded plus round or unrounded. Unrounded, we can say it mean round or negative round. For example, of the plus round labial are O, U, P, and T. And for the example of mean round or negative round, and So for the next one is coronal. The feature of coronal and its specific features distinguish mainly the consonants that are produced in the front region of the vocal tract, from dental to reflex. And the feature plus strident or positive strident also distinguish alveopalatal and velar consonant. And the following features describe cavity configuration or places or articulation. Some of them are defined relative to the neutral position of the tongue. I will explain one by one. For the first, coronal and non-coronal. For coronal sound are produced with the blade of the tongue raised from its neutral position, while non-coronal sounds are produced with the blade of the tongue in the neutral position. Second one, anterior and non-anterior. Anterior sounds are produced with an obstruction that is located in the front of the plate alveolar region of the mouth, and non-anterior sounds are produced without such as obstruction. The palate alveolar region is that where the ordinary English is produced. For the third, height and non-height. Height sounds are produced by raising the body of the tongue above the level that is occupies in the neutral position, while non-height sounds are produced without such a raising of the tongue body. For example, E, U, K, and G. And height, non low and non-low. Low sounds are produced by lowering the body of the tongue below the level that it occupies in the neutral position, while non-low sounds are produced without such a lowering of the body of the tongue. For the next, back and non-back. Back sounds are produced by retracting the body of the tongue from a neutral position, while non-back sounds are produced without such a retraction of the tongue from body to neutral position. And the last one, distributed and non-distributed. Distributed sounds are produced with a constriction that extends for considerable distance along the direction of the airflow. So, non-distributed sounds are produced with a constriction that extends only for a short distance in this direction. And in English, this feature is useful to differentiate between S and Z. So, for the search features only have one search. We can call it voice and non-voice. Voice tones are associated with vibration of the vocal fold and therefore with a low frequency periodic component of the acoustic signal. Non-voice tones are not produced with vibration of the vocal folds. For the next point, vowel features. Vowel features have 5 positions. For the first, height. The sound produced by raising the tongue above its neutral position. So, for the second one is low. The sound produced by lowering the tongue below its neutral position. For the third, front. The sound distinguishes sounds produced in the front of the mouth from the back. The next, back. Distinguish the sound produced at the back from the rest. So, round, sounds produced with lip rounding. And the last, tense. This is introduced to characterize the difference of long and short vowels. Long vowels characterized by muscular contraction, tension of the body of the tongue. So I will explain a little, or I will define a binary notation in generative theory. A plus and a positive and a negative binary notation in generative theory. Another major operation of the generative theory is the employment of the negative and the positive annotation. And these are used to indicate the absence or presence of a feature in the sound being described. And the positive annotation is the mathematical sign used to show that a sound has the particular feature in question. And the annotation indicates that the sound is questioned doesn't possess the feature being indicated. In other words, positive means the presence of particular feature, and negative means the absence of a particular feature. Thus, we can turn the binary examples in the last paragraph to positive height, negative height, positive coronary, negative coronary, positive sonoran and negative sonoran, positive obstruent and negative obstruent, so positive nasal and negative nasal. And we should be ready now to build our DF matrix. A matrix is an arrangement of symbol of number in columns and rows in order to describe or express a set of given information. It is an experience of the presence or absence or certain features in certain phonemes, which make the phonemes different from the other. And we can try and describe a set of phonemes by building its DF matrix or distinctive feature matrix using only three features. Only three features. There are coronary or non-coronary, high or non-high, and back or non-back. Sorry, back or non-back. And this, the generative phonologists agree, is the best way to describe a speech sound. Okay, it's enough from me. Thank you. I'll make it to moderator.
Yeah, thank you. So for those, there is a question to explain. Minimal pairs are words that are very similar and only vary by a single sound. Why are distinctive features important in phonology? Because distinctive features are fundamental in phonology, having a number of functions that capture contrast and distinguish phonemes, define natural classes, and capture phonological patterns, and describe the phonetic realization of these patterns. So that's all from our group. Uh, I hope you all tunggu deh bang.
Okay.
Lupa doa